Tidefall had been haunted for precisely one night, and was already, in the way of small coastal towns, adjusting. At the Wayward Inn the hydrangea crater remained. The east shutter was still off. A foxtail had, for one brief second that morning, been visible at the upstairs window to anyone looking closely at the wrong moment. Kai Nakamura had slept, with partial success, on his own sofa. His guest had slept, with no qualification whatever, in his bed.
Good morning, sofa. You are, it has to be said, firmer than I remembered you. I appreciate you taking me in on short notice, and I will endeavour not to drool on you more than is strictly unavoidable.
The kitchen pond, which had been a table the previous morning, was now burbling cheerfully. 3 koi circled their new domain with the gravity of magistrates.
Morning, fish. I hope you slept well. If any of you have opinions about the recent redecoration, I would like to assure you that none of them have been solicited.
He filled the kettle. He looked at the cream envelope on the counter, and at the 62 pages inside it, and at the strong likelihood that he was going to have to read all of them.
Good morning. I have evaluated your linens and found them broadly acceptable, though the duvet betrays its synthetic filling in an unworthy way. I shall draft a list of improvements, and you may consider them at your leisure.
Morning, Yuki. The tea in that cup is mine, for the record, and the one next to it is yours. I do not make this distinction because I expect it to be honored. I make it purely for my own reference later.
Your reference is noted. I find the distinction sentimental rather than useful, but I shall respect the ritual.
She drank his tea and looked at him over the rim with the expression of a creature who could have waited 60 more years if she'd wanted, and was glad she had not had to.
Morning, Kai love. You know your hydrangeas had a difficult night, don't you? I thought I should mention it in case it had escaped your attention, because it seems the sort of thing a young man might easily miss.
They did, Mrs. Cho. They very much did. I'm planning to replant at some point between now and the end of the month, though I can't promise it'll be before the next unusual weather event.
Take your time, dear. The one with the tails seems to know her way around a garden already. I shouldn't wonder if she weighs in on what goes where, when the mood takes her.
He signed page 11, in the wrong box, twice. Yuki corrected him without a word, by moving his pen approximately 4 millimeters to the left.
You are signing the consent clauses before the indemnity clauses, which is technically admissible but structurally uncivilized. I suggest you go back and amend the order. I shall make us fresh tea while you recover.
That is admirable and also, somehow, infuriating. Please make the tea. I will amend the order, because apparently the Liminal Residency Programme expects literate cooperation, which is a lot to ask before 9 in the morning.
At 5 minutes past 9 the phone rang, precisely, as the phone had rung the previous morning.
Good morning, Mr. Nakamura. I apologize for the early notice. The program has routed a second arrival to your property, with an estimated time of arrival this afternoon. She is at Tsukumogami, an oil paper umbrella spirit, century-old, storage dormant, and she is aquatic adjacent by nature. You may wish to run a bath.
Aquatic adjacent. Tsukumogami. Umbrella spirit. All right. I am going to ask 3 questions in a row, and I would appreciate if you answered them in the order I asked them, because I am told that helps.
I shall do my best, Mr. Nakamura, though I reserve the right to reorder for clarity. The program is nothing if not flexible about logistics.
Question 1. When you say aquatic adjacent, are we talking towels, the ocean, or something in between? Question 2. Does she have a name I should know in advance? Question 3. Is there a form I can sign that means she doesn't arrive at all?
Towels and a bath. In fact, she will want to arrive through one. Her name is Tsuki, and no, the non-arrival form has a minimum processing time of 18 months, which rather defeats the purpose. I shall be along myself in the late afternoon to supervise the placement.
Of course you will. I would expect nothing less, Ms. Tanaka, and I mean that in the most flattering sense possible.
He put the phone down. Yuki, who had been visibly eavesdropping from the window with a second piece of toast, let her ears go up a fraction and then very deliberately down again.
You know who she is, don't you? I can see it on your face, and also on both of your ears, and also on approximately 4 of your tails.
I know of her. Tsuki and I are quite different kinds of creature. She is a tsukumogami, a spirit made out of a thing. I am a kitsune, a spirit made out of nothing at all, and we have not met in this particular century. She is roughly half my age, which is young by kitsune standards and positively venerable by object spirit standards, and the part she will most wish to contest is that she was ever folded at all.
That is an almost answer. I'm going to accept it for now, because in about 5 hours I'm apparently going to be running a bath for a woman I have never met, and I need to lie down for a minute first.
He ran the bath at the agreed hour, with the air of a man who has read the manual and is still not confident. He laid fresh towels on a low stool. He put a small vase of geraniums on the windowsill, because his grandmother would have done, and retreated.
Right. Bath, towels, flowers. That is as much hospitality as I'm capable of in advance, and anything further will have to be improvised on arrival.
Allow me. I shall inaugurate your bath in a test capacity for the dignity of the inn and for the comfort of the new arrival, who will want to know it has been properly prepared. Please wait in the hall.
That is not what you are doing, and we both know it. I am going to wait in the hall because I am a civilized person, but I would like it noted that your test capacity is a fiction, and I am indulging it.
Noted, endorsed, ignored. Close the door on your way out.
He closed the door. He stood in the hall with fresh towels still pressed to his chest and reminded himself that he was, by any reasonable measure, an adult.
Kai love, there's a steam plume coming out of your bathroom window, and a ring of rain pooling in a perfect circle around your front step. I thought I ought to say, in case either was meant to be happening. Though I can't imagine either was, and I've lived on this road for 50 years.
He opened his mouth to answer. The opening was overtaken by a sudden deep sigh through the pipes of the house, a pressure change that set the kitchen taps whistling a single shared note, and a splash of the kind that put ordinary splashes to shame.
Thank you, Mrs. Cho. I will come back to you on that. Please excuse me for approximately 1 whole minute.
From inside the bathroom rose a shriek of indignation in one voice, a low delighted laugh in another, and the unmistakable sound of a 7-tailed kitsune losing her composure.
Oh,
my apologies. I appreciate that was not graceful, and your plumbing holds strong opinions about who comes through it unannounced. Might I trouble you for a towel, since I seem to have arrived ahead of dignity?
Kai entered the bathroom at speed, stopped dead, and realized he had brought the towels.
Oh, lovely. Hello, you must be the confused-looking man with good cheekbones. I have come a long way through cold plumbing, which I do not recommend to anyone, and it is very nice to meet you, though I appreciate the timing is imperfect.
Hello. Hello. I am, yes. I will, here are the towels. I am going to hand them over and then leave immediately and then possibly never speak again, and I apologize in advance for all of those things.
out.
Going.
He retreated into the hall, shut the door carefully, and slid down it by precise degrees until he was sitting on the floorboards. The towels were no longer in his possession, and he could not remember at what point that had stopped being the case. On the other side of the door, negotiations commenced. They included water, soap, further splashing, and 2 entirely different laughs.
I am Tsuki, if nobody's going to get around to it. I am a tsukumogami, an umbrella spirit, if you want the shorter word, and I have been folded up in a cupboard somewhere in this house for a century, possibly longer. Records are inconsistent. I was told there would be an inn, a fox, and a young man who looked like he hadn't slept. All 3 appear present and correct.
A Yuki, 7 Tails Kitsune senior resident. I had understood your placement was scheduled for this afternoon, which this technically is, and your entry through the plumbing was not part of the schedule I had agreed to.
The schedule and the plumbing had different opinions, and the plumbing won. I do apologize for the displacement.
Tsuki emerged first, in a towel 2 sizes too small, her wet black hair hanging in dark ribbons to her shoulders, a folded blood-red paper parasol tucked under one arm. She stepped carefully over Kai's outstretched legs and nodded down at him like a woman passing a man she had known for years.
Floor suits you, it really does. Whereabouts might I find a second towel, and somewhere to hang the wet one, please? The parasol would prefer a warm corner, if you have one.
Linen cupboard, top shelf, through the door on the right. And the drying rack is in the scullery. The warm corner is by the range. And I am going to go and put the kettle on now, because apparently this is a day that contains a kettle.
Yuki emerged second. She did not acknowledge Kai on the floor, except to step over him with her chin lifted in a way that communicated considerable editorial feedback. Ms. Tanaka arrived at 4:30, precisely. She took in the front room, the damp hair, the trail of water drops along the hall runner, and the 3 koi watching from the kitchen, and did not break stride.
Good afternoon, everyone. I see the placement has settled in with characteristic velocity. Mr. Nakamura, if you would please sign the 2 yellow forms, we can formalize a second placement and release the backdated second resident stipend within the week.
Please give me the yellow forms. Please do not give me the white ones yet. I will sign the yellow forms now, because I have learned that waiting does not, in this house, produce fewer forms.
Admirable, Mr. Nakamura. You are developing the correct temperament. I have 3 more pages after the yellow, and then we shall consider the placement fully registered.
While we are signing things, I'd like the attic. It is the highest room, which matters to an umbrella. The roof slants the right way for drying, and I can air myself on the rooftop at dusk without alarming the neighbours, which is a polite arrangement for everybody concerned.
The attic. Of course it is the attic. I have no objection to your occupation of the attic, provided you understand that the bedroom below it is mine by prior claim, and the bed within that bedroom is also mine by prior claim, regardless of whose name is on the deed.
Understood entirely. I notice your prior claim extends to approximately 3/4 of the mattress. Would you call that a maximalist interpretation of the word claim?
I would call it a correct interpretation of the word claim.
That is my bed.
Yes, and I am thinking about you as I sleep in it.
Kai, in transit between the front room and the kitchen with no clear reason to be holding a kettle, walked directly into the doorframe with a small dignified thunk.
I'm fine. I am fine. Everybody please carry on.
That evening, Mrs. Cho arrived at the kitchen door with a cottage pie in a knitted cozy and the decisive air of a woman who had brought reinforcements.
Cottage pie, love. There's carrots in it. My Dennis always said you can't have a house full of women without carrots, and to this day I don't know what he meant by that, but I've kept doing it for 50 years, and it hasn't hurt anybody.
Thank you, Mrs. Cho. That is incredibly kind, and I am going to refuse to think about it too closely because I suspect the reasons are best left mysterious.
Very wise, love. Now, the one with the tails. She was here before, you know. Your grandmother used to feed her in the back garden, with a nice bit of fish, for 3 days running, about 40 years ago. I was over the wall with a casserole then too, though it was a shepherd's pie, and Hannah made me promise not to ask.
Wait. You knew. You knew, and she asked you not to ask, and you didn't ask, for 40 years.
I didn't ask, love, no. Asking is overrated when the answer's already sat drinking tea in the kitchen. Eat your pie.
She waved and went home. Kai carried the casserole back to the dining room with the expression of a man who has been trusted with more history than he was expecting.
Delicious-looking pie. I do draw the line at carrots, however. I have given carrots a fair hearing over a century, and my position on them has never improved.
Your position on anything has never improved. The pie is excellent. Mrs. Cho has the hand of a woman who has had no choice but to cook for a large family at short notice, and I find the carrots structurally essential.
Then you may have mine.
I shall.
At 2 in the morning, Kai woke on the sofa and discovered, by a process of reluctant inventory, that he was no longer alone. Across his legs lay Yuki, tails arranged with proprietary grace. Leaning her shoulder against his, with her parasol half opened above them both like a canopy of blood-red paper, was Tsuki. Neither had, as far as he could tell, acknowledged the other's presence.
She is on your shoulder.
She's on your legs.
I'm going to live on the beach. I have decided. It will be a peaceful life, I will grow a beard, and I will never again own a sofa of any description.
You will not live on the beach, because you do not own the beach, and because by morning you will have forgiven both of us entirely, as you are constitutionally incapable of sustained grievance.
That, and it is very slightly raining tonight, and we are sheltered here. You are welcome.
He tried, for the sake of his dignity, to go back to sleep. He lay staring at the underside of Tsuki's parasol for a long time instead, and noticed, with a tired kind of affection, that the paper was rising and falling in time with her breathing. By the morning, 2 cooking stations were running in parallel. Yuki, at the left-hand stove, was plating a traditional breakfast of grilled fish, rice, pickles, and miso. Tsuki, at the right-hand stove, was suspending a cracked and yellowed paper umbrella over the largest ring on a slow flame, turning it carefully, re-oiling the paper with a small brush.
Morning, Kai. I found this one in your attic behind the water tank, and I hope the use of your burner was within acceptable terms. The poor thing hasn't breathed in 40 years, and I have put it to excellent work in linseed oil.
That is a food surface.
It is also a heat source, and the paper was damp, and a beam of sunlight alone would have taken all afternoon.
I am going to sit here, with my toast, and my paperwork, and I am not going to engage with this exchange, because I have concluded that engagement is what gets me into trouble.
You will engage with this exchange. The ritual of hosting gifts is ancient and carries obligations across generations, and her appropriation of your stove constitutes a serious breach of etiquette, which I will require compensation for.
I will compensate you by teaching you the drying technique. You are welcome to disapprove of it, so long as you accept my tuition first.
In the afternoon, while Yuki was in the back garden interrogating the state of the hydrangeas, Tsuki carried her own parasol out to the parlor and unfolded it beside the window to let the paper breathe in a long bar of sunlight.
Kai, come here a moment, would you? I have found something that probably ought to be found together, and I would rather not be the only one holding it.
From between 2 of the parasol's ribs, she teased a folded scrap of rice paper that had plainly been tucked there for decades. Inside was a single pressed cherry blossom, faintly pink and slightly brittle, with a tiny handwritten kanji in one corner.
That was Nan's. She pressed those. She said the paper kept them gentle, and that the kanji meant the blossom had been given to someone. She used to tuck them into drawers and pockets and library books.
She tucked this one into my ribs. I cannot say when, years or decades, before I was put away in the cupboard, but the paper has been folded against my paper all that time. I did not know, until this moment, that I had been given the gift. I thought, when I felt it there, that it was only packing.
Yuki came in from the garden. She looked at the cherry blossom, and at Tsuki, and set her cup down without a sound.
She gave me one too. I have it still, folded inside a silver case that I have not opened in a long time. She said to me what I imagine she said to you, that the paper kept the gift gentle and that I should be careful with it.
So she was giving them out. To both of you. For decades. And she tucked a spare into the ribs of an old umbrella in the attic, in case someone else came along who needed to know.
His eyes filled. He did not quite cry. Yuki laid the back of her hand against his wrist and let one tail rest on his shoulder. Tsuki leaned her shoulder against his other side, and the rim of her parasol, still open, tilted gently to shelter all three of them from nothing in particular.
Your parasol is dripping in my space.
Your 7 tails are in everyone's space. I have been generous about it so far, out of respect for the moment, but I reserve the right to revisit the matter at a more convenient time.
Please revisit it in about an hour. I am trying to be moved, and you are making it extremely difficult, and also, somehow, easier.
At sunset, Ms. Tanaka came back, this time in person, with a large manila envelope that she had clearly been carrying all day.
This was your grandmother's, Mr. Nakamura. The program holds a host file for every registered residence, and Hana Nakamura was the Wayward Inn's host of record for 42 years. I thought you should be the one to open it.
42 years. My grandmother. A host of the Liminal Residency Programme for 42 years, and she failed to mention it exactly as many times as she had opportunities to mention it.
She was not unusual in that. Hosts of her generation regarded it as private work, and felt that disclosure was a burden rather than a courtesy. I can tell you that she was extremely well regarded.
Inside the envelope was a neat typed list of names and dates. At the top of the list, registered 1924, was a single word, Tsuki. Further down the same page, registered 1971, was a single word, Yuki.
Neither of you thought to mention.
It would have been impolite. Your grandmother and I had a private arrangement, which it was not my place to discuss, and which I understood would be made known to you by other means when the right moment arrived.
And between you and me, it was much more fun this way. Though I would like to put on record that we did offer multiple small hints, and you missed most of them, which is in my view on you.
The pressed cherry blossom was a hint.
A large one, actually.
Right. Right. I'll be over here, sitting down, processing approximately 4 decades of information at once, and if somebody could put the kettle on, that would be very helpful.
That evening, the dining room was laid for 3. Yuki placed her setting to the right of Kai's chair with ostentatious neatness. Tsuki, passing through a minute later, moved her own setting to the left of Kai's chair with innocent pleasure.
I see what you have done, and I shall be amending it.
I see what you are about to do, and I shall be re-amending it when you leave the room.
Yuki fetched the wine. Tsuki, unobserved, swapped all 3 place settings in a single fluid motion. Yuki returned, saw, and began to rearrange them with tail-assisted precision. One china plate slipped from hands mid-exchange, arced out over the table, and cracked into 3 neat pieces on the floor. Kai stepped into the doorway with the casserole, looked at the plate, looked at the 2 women frozen mid-gesture, and walked very slowly around the table to set the casserole in the exact middle.
We are going to eat this. We are going to discuss a rota tomorrow morning, and the rota will be fair, and the rota will be binding. Please sit down, both of you, before the casserole gets cold and anything else breaks.
I will not be doing laundry. The fibers disagree with my tails. The spin cycle is unkind to silk, and the entire apparatus requires an attention span. I do not, on principle, extend to domestic machinery.
I will not be going near running water. I have been wet enough, for a century, and I reserve the right to leave the room whenever a tap is in operation.
The rota will be fair. That is the only qualifier I am accepting at this stage, and we can negotiate the details once we have all eaten something and stopped breaking my plates.
They ate. Yuki and Tsuki did not look at each other, and did not speak to each other, and between them passed the salt, the water, the bread, and the butter with perfect courteous efficiency, as though they had been running a dining room together for years. Afterwards, at the front desk, Kai opened the guest book to the page below Yuki's entry from 2 nights before. He wrote the date. He wrote the name Tsuki in careful, even handwriting, underneath.
Second entry in 6 months. Also not bad. It is beginning, genuinely, to look like the sort of book an inn might actually have.
It does look like that. You are settling into the handwriting rather well, if I may say so. The tea is a little timid. The tea of an innkeeper is usually slightly more assertive than yours, but you will get there.
On the front step, the crystal disc had changed its rhythm. 3 pulses. A long pause. Then 1. Then nothing, and then 3 again. Over the garden wall, in the dusk, Mrs. Cho was silhouetted beside her open garage, in which a folded camp bed stood hopefully against the wall.
Kai love. I've put a spare bed in the garage, just in case. It's a good bed, actually. It was my nephew's. He grew out of it, and it'll keep until you need it, which I think, by the look of that light on the step, might be sooner than you thought.
Bless you, Mrs. Cho. That is, thank you. I will let you know. I suspect I will be letting you know quite soon.
Inside the Wayward Inn, 3 windows burned warmly against the dark. Above the bay, at one corner of the sky, a color was beginning that had no business being there. The disc on the step kept pulsing. 3. Pause. 1. The inn listened, and waited, and did not, any longer, wait alone.